The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored this week by Motor Bunny, the ride-on-top vibrator. Get $50 off a Motor Bunny starter kit at motorbunny.com by entering the code MANWHORE at checkout. Now let's start the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Hey there, fluid fuckers and bonus boy holes. This is Billy Persida, and you're listening to the Man Whore Podcast. Welcome to all my new listeners. If you are new, this is a podcast where, I usually talk to women I've hooked up with about sex and dating and gender and love and the occasional orgy. But however, this week's guest is not one of my former flames. No, it is, I'm going to call them queer superstar phenomenon Milcah Halili is on the podcast this week, and I'm very excited to tell you more about them in a bit. Yeah, I said them, and don't start with me. Look, we talk about it in the episode. They had a good point. Don't harp. Just take a win, okay? No stand-up comedy dates as of this moment. However, I would love to do a No Pants Subway Ride Man Whore meetup on January 8th, okay? The No Pants Subway Ride, international phenomenon where they do this, and people just get on their local city subways and systematically take their pants off, surprising unsuspecting tourists. And you do it with like thousands of people. It's a big thing. You can go to nopantsubwayride.com for information. And I would love to meet a group of fan whores and go do that together if you live in the greater New York City area. So if you're interested, please email me at manwhorepod@gmail.com. I would love to take my pants off with you. But here's something a little more immediate. Today, Wednesday the 14th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be live streaming a Man Whore Podcast episode with my with fellow comedian and former one-time fuck friend Alex Engelbert. We're going to record the Man Whore Podcast, and I'm going to stream it live on Facebook Live and Periscope. So, if you're catching this in time, be sure to go check that out on the Man Whore Podcast Facebook page or on Periscope at The Billy Persida. Did you miss it? Is it like, 5:15 Eastern Standard Time? And you're like, oh no, don't worry. The replay will be available for viewing for 24 hours until like tomorrow on Thursday. So you can go rewatch it there. Otherwise, you'll just have to wait till next week to hear Alex Engelbert and I get into it. We're both going to try to pretend that we didn't enjoy fucking each other. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, Sunday, maybe weeks from now, and you're kind of sore about missing the visual element of this podcast, well, that's even more the reason to go like the Man Whore Podcast fan page on Facebook and or follow me on Periscope at The Billy Persida. I'm going to be live streaming recordings in the future in 2017, more often than not, hopefully. And the only way to see those is to be following me through either of those mediums, whatever. So yeah, go like the stuff, go follow the things. The last week has been my first full week working for me. Working for you, really. I left the day job on December 1st, and I did a whole week just now of going to a coffee shop, working on the podcast, working on my stand-up, going to open mics, buying dry erase boards to put up in my apartment so I can be more creative and just write shit on the walls. It's literally the dream. The dream is to live a lifestyle where I do some odd jobs to make ends meet, have cheap rent, and pursue my passion. My passion happens to be making strangers laugh and talking about my dick. Those are my passions, and I would not be here without you, the listeners. There are so many of you, and there's more and more of you every week, and that's because a lot of you are sharing the show with your friends. I mean, the amount of you have said that I am a big hit in your office or on your dorm's floor. I mean, that's amazing, and that's how we grow this show. And I want to thank all of you for that. And I want to thank all of you for being such loyal listeners and for downloading every week and checking me out and following me on Twitter and sending me cookies. The two of you who have mailed me cookies over the years. It really warms my heart. The Patreon for the Man Whore Podcast is more important now than ever. I quit the day job in part because the Patreon has reached a level where it takes a good chunk out of the amount of money I need to make in a month. I was like, okay, so if it's already here, if I'm committing full time to the podcast, if I'm giving my listeners my 100%, my 110%, I think that will grow. And I am hoping it will. And I hope you all support the sponsors who support me. But I am really proud to say that my biggest sponsors of the podcast are the listeners themselves. If I look at everything all the different types of income that's come in, the Patreon blows everything else out of my Patreon page has brought in more money than sponsors, donations, gifts, all of that combined. And I think I'm really proud of that. I think it's great to be sustained by your fan base. And that's why I'm asking you all, become an official fan whore for just $1 a month. Just $1 a month means that you value independent content creators, that you value the people you enjoy listening to or watching or reading every week. If every single one of you pledged $1 a month, which is 25 cents an episode, I can commit full-time to stand-up, full-time to you, for just $1 a month, 25 cents an episode. And I'm not asking it for nothing. Patreon is kind of like a monthly fan club subscription. And depending on what you pledge per month, you get different rewards. For example, if you pledge $4 a month, you get exclusive access to bonus episodes of the Man Whore Podcast. And I've got over 20 bonus episodes up on Patreon right now for those of you who are supporting me there. If you've been listening to me for years, if you've listened to most of the episodes of this show, which many of you have because I've seen the numbers, 25 cents an episode, $1 a month, changes the life of one whore in Brooklyn. So he can keep giving you sex positive, vulnerable, honest, hopefully a little bit funny content every week. This is episode 140. I've gone 140 episodes every week. I've never missed a week for you. If you all support me, I will be your slut in shining armor. I will do cool fucking shit. I've got some really awesome things lined up. Remember that happy ending massage episode I've been talking about for years? No. I swear I actually have a massage provider lined up. Turns out I knew one personally the whole time. I'm bringing back the naked episodes in 2017 that you all loved so much. Remember that? And I can do even more cool shit if I can focus all my time and energy on doing that. And so, I'm not trying to beg. You're getting cool stuff in return for your pledges. I'm just trying to say that, I've quit my day job. I am committing to you. And I hope you will commit to me too. If you'd like to support me and the sex positive conversations I'm doing with the Man Whore Podcast, head on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast, or you can download the Patreon app and you can find me on there. That's Patreon, Patreon. Now, this week's guest also has a Patreon for their writing and their porn that they create. Milcah Halili. I heard Milcah first on another podcast called Why Are People Into That with Tina Horn. I'm sure many of you either found me on there or have heard my episode on that podcast. And I heard Milcah's reached out, said, wow, you're awesome. And it turned out Milcah was visiting New York and they reached out to say like, hey, can we do the podcast? I was like, let's fucking do it. And what I like about Milcah is I keep saying she, Milcah is a female-bodied person, but is genderqueer or fluid. We talk about the labels soon, and by the end of the episode, they convinced me to use the pronoun they at bare minimum for them. Progress, baby steps. So I really enjoyed this episode. It's really cool. I love Milcah. This might be one of the most quotable episodes since Justin Flanagan. Great stuff going on. Gave me the term bonus boy hole. Wow, what an amazing phrase for a part of your body. So we talk about BDSM. We're talking about kink, relationships, feminism, privilege, consent, identity, politics, all that stuff. To quote Milcah Halili, I'm going to make so many enemies with this podcast. I am excited. I hope you are too. I love you all. Now let's talk with Milcah Halili. Thanks for coming by. I'm here with Milcah Halili, who I would... Let's go through the checklist of the things. Writer, right?
Writer.
Cam girl? Cam person?
Porn. Yeah, not so much anymore. More porn performer.
Because a lot of these things will like change. Sometimes you stop and you start different. Okay, so no, it's not as much cam, but porn, right? Speaker. And I'm forgetting what the other one was I had. Am I missing? You have like a full resume.
I'm an entrepreneur as well.
You do a lot of the things.
Yep. I do a lot of the things. Yeah. All the hats.
Many activities. But welcome and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you reached out.
Yeah, it was. You had reached out to me after I had done that Tina Horn's.
Right.
Why are people into that podcast? And I was like, oh, cool. It's good. It's good to know somebody's listening.
Isn't that nice? Because you put stuff out there, you vomit your soul, and you're hoping someone's receiving it.
Exactly.
Oh man, yeah.
So there's that. And then I was really impressed with your interview with April, so decided to reach out.
Well, I'm glad somebody is impressed with something. I am easily in trouble, I find, more often than not, which is strange.
I feel like that's all part of life.
Yeah, but like in the sex pause world, I find that can get odd. Something interesting about you, which when you decided to reach out, you had made mention that you identify as demisexual,
right?
And then I said, well, that's interesting because I did a whole episode. That's going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
You listened to the show with Bauer. What'd you think?
To be honest, I didn't listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
I really listened to the beginning, and I
I still stand by my position on zucchinis.
Well. Yeah, zucchinis is a little, I don't know. I feel like I can understand your resistance, and I often feel like for me, if I were to only pick one word that would encapsulate me, it would be fluid. Because otherwise I just I don't know, I get really frustrated sometimes with identity politics and labels, and those labels having some sort of scriptive narrow narrative that you can follow.
Right. But that's kind of our generation's thing though, is
right.
the whole...
And that's completely opposite of the point of labels. I feel like labels are more boundary placers to let you know where you are at any point in time, or to easily tell somebody. Here's kind of my sexuality elevator pitch, so I don't have to tell you everything about how my genitals work, I guess, or don't work.
Right.
But yeah, when it gets to be this convoluted identity politics war, then it's just it's come on.
If you have to take longer to explain what that word you used was than to just say what you meant, then what was the point of having that?
Exactly.
Is my opinion on it.
Yeah. I totally vibe with that, and I don't like how caught up people get in it, because I feel like it just defeats the point.
So you identify as genderqueer. When did you know that there was something going on there?
I have always kind of known that I was genderqueer, even before there was a term for it. I just felt different. I didn't feel quite like the girls or the boys. I just knew that I saw the world differently.
You felt like Milcah.
Yeah, like a person.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's as if people are individuals and have their own thing.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, but going back to what I said about feeling more. I identify more with the term fluidity, because in that, pretty much encapsulates the human experience. We all go through phases. We have the ability to evolve and adapt and change.
And fluid sounds a little messy,
right?
But that's great because the human experience is a messy fucking thing,
exactly.
And we're all going through it.
It's very troublesome, this human thing.
Oh, and then it is hard. It is quite difficult. But the thing with gender, because again, as a guy who tries to do, I feel like I'm on the right side of things overall, right? And so I'm always trying to keep up with the new glossary, the new buzzwords,
right?
And try to stay current. It can be difficult sometimes, catching up, because some of them can be, some people go like, well, I'm gender fluid, not gender queer. I'd be like, I don't know the difference. I'm sorry, but can we not yell at me? Just,
Right.
Is there a difference between those labels or?
I feel like there is, in the same way that words and symbols mean different things to different people.
Okay.
But I'm not really one to like mince words, you know? Like for me, I feel like for example, I feel like trans is an umbrella term for like gender fluid, gender queer, whatever, you know, gender nonconforming, non-binary, whatever you want to call it. But just like queer is a umbrella term for people who don't fit under the heteronormative binary. So
that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I ever, just thinking about gender queerness is that and correct me if I'm wrong, because I am very often wrong because I don't know better. It was originally something kind of more like a political pushback on like the gender binary, right?
Right.
But from what I'm trying to understand is that it almost seems like at some point, doesn't the idea of gender queerness reinforce gender norms in the first place? Like if it's like I don't feel like a typical woman, I'd be like, but then that doesn't that mean that then there is this typical woman? And I'm saying like if we're trying to buck back against those, I don't know. Like shouldn't you be able to like be a woman who is not like that typical woman anymore?
I hear what you're saying. I feel like
I only ask and trying to understand. I'm not trying to say like your thing is wrong. Yeah,
of course not. I understand where you're coming from. I feel like so the whole like non-binary thing. I'm getting caught up on like when people ask me like, oh, so what does this mean? So like non-binary, it means that it's the opposite of this, and I'm like, and so I have to say, well, I mean, non-binary wouldn't exist without binary,
right?
Just like masculine wouldn't exist without feminine, or it's like yin and yang. They're kind of like one and the same, but they're also different.
Yin and yang?
Yeah.
Oh my God, have white people just been mispronouncing that forever?
I don't know.
I feel like, don't we, because I thought it was yin and yang.
Yeah, maybe.
But like maybe we've been wrong for centuries. We just, someone in 1829 meant one dude from Japan and just mispronounced it, and then it just set the tone for America to be really wrong.
I mean, like everybody has an accent. Is any accent wrong?
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get that. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess the point is like it just really just depends on the individual who's speaking on the word, because with words you take on your own life experience. So I can't, I'm not gonna like go around I can self-determine, but I'm not gonna police somebody else's ability to like self-determine.
Right.
Like if they want to identify that way, cool. It doesn't have to be my same belief. Mm-hmm. As much as like I want to give them space to be what they want and be who they want and believe what they believe, like I don't feel like people need to push that on me, or if like they want to put a boundary, like I don't know, it seems like when you like mess up or if you like say something that's like faux pas, like people get really offended and they're like and
but the people who get like that are like only in the subset of like the sex pos world, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I feel like the sex positive world is kind of weird to begin with, like
because they're not that much different from say like alt-right people, in the way in which they practice.
Oh, I'm gonna make so many enemies with this podcast, but like
yes, join me.
But I don't know.
Did
like,
you hear what Milcah Halili said on that fucking man whore bullshit?
Right. I don't know. Like same thing. What I was saying earlier about like people getting really caught up on what it means to be sex positive. I don't know. I feel like everybody is problematic, and if we could all just like own that we're all problematic and that we're gonna like fuck up or like say something that isn't like PC around somebody, like maybe that would give us all like some like compassion to just be like kinder and how we like maintain our boundaries and how
to be
we
like
navigate language.
To be like I've messed up and I understand why they messed up, so instead of shouting at this person for messing up on a different thing, I can like talk to them. But the other thing that like I've noticed that the like blogger types might do is that they don't want to have discussions. And like when you hit me up said like, hey, if I'm gonna be in New York, would you like to? I gave you this long, like this sort of long, just like disclaimer, be like, hey, I don't know if you know about me much, but like I mean, we may disagree, and you were like, yeah, that's a how conversations work.
Right, that's the human experience.
Yeah, but a lot of people, if you have I got yelled at on Twitter like a year or something ago about like the difference between what the legal standard for consent should be, enthusiastic versus affirmative versus whatever. And like, because I thought enthusiastic consent was a little too extreme of a legal standard, they started tweeting at me like I was a rapist. And I was like, what? Come on now. Like, settle down.
Yeah, because what if you're like sleepy,
the argument,
but horny, and then it doesn't come off as enthusiastic,
right?
But internal, or what if you're like an introverted person who's not very expressive, so like your version of enthusiasm is like a monotoned yes? I don't know. I mean, like, I don't really know the context of the conversation.
I promise you, I am enthusiastic right now. I am so enthusiastic. I am incredibly turned on.
Right?
Please,
I don't know.
Please have sex with my non-robot pussy right now, please. Yeah, well, the example they were giving where it was like if let's say a woman's like they're fooling around, and then at some point they want to go to bed, and they say no, we're not having sex, and the guy's like, please, please, please. Now he's not being coercive, he's not threatening, he's not trying to blackmail, he's not doing anything like to invoke a power imbalance. He's just being annoying. He's just being please, please, please. They were saying if she gives in, said like, fine, get it done so I can go to sleep, they were trying to say that should be rape. And because I disagree, I didn't say like, oh my God, you're all crazy. I just said, I disagree. And they like went on a tear. And I'm like, that's what the alt-right people do. Like if you calmly disagree with some, they lash out instead of having a discussion.
Yeah. Well, and also the thing is like, if you don't disagree with somebody, like if you yell at them, it's not going to get them to agree with you
I've
anymore.
learned nothing from being yelled at.
Right.
I've learned things about gender and feminism and sexuality that I couldn't understand from my own experiences. I only understood and learned from discussions like this that were kind of on, even if we disagree vehemently, we're agreeing we're not going to hate each other at the end.
We're going to maintain respectful conversation.
Yeah, even if heated.
Exactly.
You got to be able to do that. Otherwise, no one's going to take you seriously.
True.
And then we don't actually make any sort of change. And then the dudes who look like enemies on Jezebel, we don't learn anything.
Right. Well, going back to that scenario, I feel like that would be kind of rapey if, like, the guy was beyond annoying and were to, like, punish her emotionally or physically or otherwise for not having, like, gone through with it. I feel like that would be, like, abusive. But if the guy
she can kick him out of the bed. She can leave herself. I mean, there's, like, other options. I
know, women are, like... or people who are like perceived as women are indoctrinated to kind of just like do what the man says to please the man, and that's how they're raised. So maybe they don't feel like they have another option, but I also feel like
I still feel like that shouldn't be like a crime. I feel like
I don't feel like that should be like.
It sounds like bad sex. I don't think it should be illegal to. I mean, some people think it should be
a bad relationship. Period. Right. But like, I mean, there are other options for women. They could kick them out. They could enforce their boundaries. But I don't know. It's a little extreme on from my point of view too. Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you're also a wonderful writer. So you're working on a memoir right now. Is that what it is? Okay. So you send me an excerpt from it. It's beautifully written. It's not XXX rated, I think, from the start, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So I'm lulled in this sense of comfort at my desk job. And I'm reading it on the screen. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's about there's some dad stuff, okay. And then it just slowly devolves into like, and I'm on a kink.com shoot, and I'm getting and cock this and cock that and orgasm. Like, oh, I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now. This is really, really good. This is a little too good. I should probably take this to the bathroom.
That's a great response.
It was phenomenal. It was great because it wasn't just straight erotica. It wasn't just like a bunch of sexy words. There was rhythm. It had poetic rhythm to it. It was great.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. While also making me uncomfortably hard at work. It was great. So you were writing about your experiences doing was that one of your first porn scenes?
Mm-hmm. It was my first boy-girl scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
For kink.com.
Yeah, for kink.com. It was a public disgrace shoot.
Those are the ones like in a bar or something?
In a bar or like a public place. It's staged, but
Oh no, you're ruining the facade for me. It's one of my favorite genres.
Right, but
Where they like rent out a bar and then they invite a bunch of extras or something.
it was for this particular scene. It was actually in the basement of the San Francisco Armory.
Okay.
The big kink palace. But yeah, there were like 80 people there. It was insane.
Okay.
Like I just remember after the shoot, cabbing home, and the first thing I did was plop in bed. I instantly fell asleep, and I remember waking up an hour later not being able to move my body at all. Like I willed my body to move. My body was like, "Fuck, no, you're not moving. You just got fucked the shit out of you. Like you're not moving." Yeah.
Oh man, what made you want to start doing porn?
To be honest, I always thought that I would be good at making porn, like being a videographer or directing and producing porn. So I thought, well, if I want to be an empathetic director, then I should probably be in front of the camera. But I had no interest in doing any of that. It actually took my friend who had taken candid nudes of me to be like, you should be a webcam model. And I was like, nah, I'm never doing that. That sounds not like my thing. And then I ended up doing the thing. And from there, I started doing porn.
So camming came first.
Yes.
Camming's great.
Yes,
Such an
it's
easy
fun.
way. I did that in college for like about a year or so.
Word.
It's a great way to just like do homework. And if someone pings in, be like, oh, hi, what's going on? You want me to do what now? All right. I was going to do that anyway.
Right.
Oh, man. I would tell friends, they're like, I'm getting paid to jerk off. Like, how much did you make jerking off last night? $0. Well, you seem to be very irresponsible financially with your loads. So what was the transition from camming to porn?
Well, it started in my bedroom. Started webcamming in my bedroom. And then I applied to kink.com. And then I started webcamming in the Armory. So from there, I had a first shoot with them, but I like totally fucked up. You're not supposed to have any marks. And a week before my first shoot, I was cleaning the garage and some sharp object scraped my leg, and I had this like long cut. And they were like, nope, you cannot shoot with us. So I just started camming more and more until eventually one day they said that somebody had called out last minute. And then they reminded me about how I couldn't show up last time, so I better show up this time.
I mean,
I
feel like sometimes that happens where they say, look, do what you want in your private life, but if you're doing like kink scenes at home,
Right.
make sure you don't come back with bruises. And
Right.
they's like, what did we tell you? Be like, no, it was an accident, I swear.
Right.
I just scraped it against I was cleaning. I promise.
Unfortunate accident, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so what type of scenes do you do now? I haven't watched your work. I remember when I had Sarah J on, or when I had April Flores on, like I did like, research with some lotion nearby, but I did research. I've seen some stills on Twitter, but you're great on Twitter at Milcah Halili.
Thank you.
But
Yes, that's Milcahhalili.
a lot of letters you don't expect to be
Exactly.
together, but they're hanging out.
I mostly do BDSM. Earlier
Bottoming,
this year,
subbing.
Subbing, very rarely topping, and I'm aiming at doing more topping on film. I got into mainstream this year as well. I tried it for a little bit, but I realized I'm mostly just like a nasty, kinky person, so
Right.
I should stick with that. But that was a lot of fun too. I did a bunch of anal shoots. I like anal, so
Okay.
anything involving like anal, anything like really gross,
Really gross.
disgusting, like I'm down for.
In that's like private life.
Also on film. Yeah,
Well, also on film.
The weirder shit, the nastier shit, the better.
What type of weird, nasty shit are you into?
I mean, I guess it's not that nasty, but for like the muggles or the norms
For the muggles.
or the civilians, I guess it is. But like spit. Oh yes, spit.
Sorry.
A little bit. Okay.
Better.
Yes. Spit. I really love spit. Maybe this is kind of gross or like TMI, but like if I like.
April Flores talked about peeing on people, so it's
true.
okay.
If I like, if somebody sticks it up my butt and there's like a little bit of poop on there, like or like brown lube, I won't care. I'll suck it up.
You'll suck it up?
Yeah, like a good person would.
You'll suck the Santorum?
Yes, I'm moralizing dirty sex. But yeah, no,
Don't you get worried? Is there like aren't there precautions you should take when doing that?
Well,
Rosario Dawson said in Clerks 2, you never go ass to mouth.
Well, well, I mean, I get tested when I'm shooting consistently. I get tested every like 2 weeks. So if there's like a little bit of like, I mean, inevitably, like if you're gonna stick it in there, there's gonna be something on there. So I just really like don't care. Like if it's edgy, if it's kind of gross, if it just like, for me, it symbolizes like just like surrendering to whoever I'm playing with and just like taking it all.
Is that the nastiest you've done? Is sucking on the poop? Sucking on the poop? The poop stick?
Oh, I'm so gonna regret this podcast.
The chocolate popsicle?
I don't know.
The dipstick? Checking oil? I'll just keep going.
I have swallowed piss.
Yeah, but I can handle that. I swallowed piss as a kid all the time.
Right.
Not all the time. Sorry. Now I'm gonna regret. I used to like in the shower, like I don't know. I had a weird thing from probably the ages of like 4 to 10 with pee and shower and myself, and then I learned what shame was, and I think I stopped that.
Yeah, I don't really know what gross really means anymore, but for me, I guess like in the porny sense, it's like if you like degrade me, if you humiliate me, if you just say like really like perverted mindfuckery kind of stuff, I'm into it, you know? I'm really into pain. I'm a pain slut. So that
when did
will
you
always
first
do
discover
it
that?
For me. That's a good question. I think that I've always had a propensity to receive a lot of pain. I used to self-harm. And so I guess from there I learned that I could tolerate a lot of pain. And it wasn't really until my adulthood that I really started exploring it with other people. Okay. But I just remember ever since I was young, I had fantasies of like being mind fucked or like mind fucking someone else and just like spanking or bondage or all that.
What? Do you ever get like flashbacks to, so like you might be into something and you don't know why, and then all of a sudden you start having flashback, like early childhood memories, and you're like, ooh, that maybe is where it's from.
Maybe, but I'm not really the person, like the kind of person that believes that something in your life necessarily like
not causation, not like you had daddy issues and that's why you're into daddy stuff. I mean like it, like maybe the fetish or the thing you were into, it came out in other forms. Like example, like I'm not like a sub in like the dom sub sense, but I'm like submissive.
Right.
I usually say like I'm like the adjective, not the noun.
Right.
You know, and I started in the last like year or so remembering when I would play with kids when I was younger, I enjoyed being in like a submissive state. Like I remember one time, like I kind of let these kids like tie me up to a chair and they kind of were like being humiliated. Like I think they pulled my pants down. They were trying to like, you know, beat Billy up a little bit. And I didn't like the beating up, but like I enjoyed the being helpless type of mindset. So it was coming out in a non-sexual context. And then later in my adult life, it comes out in a sexual way.
That makes sense. I guess I never really thought of that before, but now that I think about it, like when I was in preschool, there were these girls who I looked up to and they were so pretty. And I was just like, man, like I look up to these girls. I wish I could be like them and that they would play like board games with me or whatever, you know?
Board games.
But like every day they would tease me. They would make fun of me and I would just cry. And as much as I hated it, like it felt really good to just like cry, you know?
Crying's great.
Yeah, it's so great.
Oh.
Crygasms are the best.
Sometimes if I just need to cry, just look for any Oscar nominated drama and I'm just going to put that on. Because I know I'm going to get at least one tearjerker at some point.
Right.
Anything with Tom Hanks, you know, I'll put it on and I'm going to cry. And it's great. Even just like last night, I went to a high school reunion in Connecticut and I'm driving back and I had emotions from that. And we were talking about family. So you're catching up with teachers talking about family. And then I didn't cry on campus, but like I wanted to get a little cry out in the car. Just put on I'll Cover You by Rent. Put on the reprise. You got to put the first one's real happy. You got to put on the reprise when it's very sad. And then, I get a nice tear in. cheer myself up with Wicked afterwards. You know, that's oh, it's crazy time. So back to the writing. So the wonderful words, and you've been putting out. What have you put out so far?
So I have been published in a book called "Coming Out Like a Porn Star."
Jizzly, right?
Jizzly, yes, the wonderful Jizzly. I have been published on Literary Kitchen, which is a site that Eric Gore runs. Where else have I been?
And this is all like erotic nonfiction, or
it's nonfiction. It's not necessarily always erotic, but yes, the essay that I have in Coming Out Like a Porn Star is definitely erotic. I have a bunch of interviews out, but most of the stuff that I have, I feel like the biggest bulk of the stuff that I have is unpublished. It's my memoir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's like the through line with the memoir? Like what is the thing? Is it more stuff like the kink stuff, or is it more stuff like about like coming out to your father?
It's mostly about my experiences in porn and publishing, and the porn industry and publishing industry, and all of the wonderful women that I've met in those industries, and how I've basically found myself in community through them.
Okay. Oh, when we were doing the checklist of your resume, the other thing I forgot was sex worker. That was
yes,
right. Now it's coming back to me 25 minutes later. When did you start doing sex work? I'm assuming, is it escorting or is it some other form?
It was webcamming actually. So that was when I think I was 19 when I started that.
Okay, so you don't escort.
I do.
Oh, you do.
Actually,
okay.
Let me go through the full list of
so many gigs.
Things
so many.
that I do. Yeah, I like to diversify. So I'm an escort. I'm a pro dom, pro sub, full body sensual massage provider.
Okay. Okay.
What else? I do porn. I sometimes webcam. That's the bulk of it. Yep.
Okay. And when did you start escorting?
It started after the porn. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just kind of happened. I guess what the switch that got flipped for me was, well, I just take away the camera.
The camera,
and,
yeah.
Yep.
Well, how do you show up? Do you show up in more of like a feminine garb, or?
Mm-hmm. Most of the sex work that I do is in femme drag.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what you call when you're more like expressing like quote unquote typical girl.
Yes.
Right. Like girly. Right.
I also did femme drag last night. I was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting because like.
What was last night? It
was a Halloween party, crazy night.
Okay.
Everybody going out. Yeah, it was funny because I normally just dress like this.
Right.
Like my clothes are baggy.
It's just you look like a hacker. That's
right,
all. Right.
Basically. Like some tech dweeb from the Bay Area. That's me. But yeah, I was in my Wonder Woman onesie with the the booty shorts kind of cut off, and
does the hair come down for all that?
The hair comes down, and there's makeup on my face, and it was just funny to be like, oh, this is what it must feel like to be like a quote unquote typical lady.
Yeah.
So just walking around the street, and like I saw dudes like doing the whole like turning their heads to follow my path and having people whistle at me and honk.
But now when you're like that, say you're dressed up to go like meet up with a client, do you sometimes dress like that on your own normally when you're feeling more girly that day? Or is that like you're really just out of yourself?
I really feel like it's a part of me now.
Okay.
I don't really dress feminine when I'm not doing work.
So then how's that feel when you're out in like the femme drag? Like, does that make you feel odd or anything? You're like, why am I? Do you feel dressed like a clown almost?
Yeah, well, I feel like it's just basically like it's Halloween every day for me, you know,
okay.
when I'm working. Well, before I meet a client, I'm typically in my regular garb, and then when I get to wherever I'm going to, the dungeon, the hotel, then I will dress up. But yeah, it's not really common for, the civilians to see me in the femme drag these days, unless I'm getting paid for it.
Right. I just didn't know if there was like any sort of like feelings you had, if there was like a weirdness about being like expressing a gender identity that you're not normally in?
I mean, I love it. When I first started doing porn, I didn't have this distinction about like my gender. I wasn't very embodied back then.
Right.
Like
It's
I
just
learned
in the excerpt you sent me, like it seemed like you were uncomfortable in that first dolled up scene that you were in.
It was very foreign to me in the beginning, and at that point I was just very feminine all the time because I was coming from this place where I just wanted to be like a quote unquote real
girl.
woman.
Oh, yeah.
Like I just wanted to feel that because I had never really felt that my whole life. So I went into it and I was just femjag 24/7. Like I was Milcah Halili even off screen. But as I discovered myself through porn and realized that I actually do get really turned on by dressing up more feminine, I started to own it more. And then off screen, I would just dress up how it would feel best for me.
Yeah.
As the person, not the performer. And that really helped me to own how good it made me feel and how great it feels to be fetishized and objectified in like this hyper feminized form.
Objectification like gets a bad rap because like when you're in control of it, it feels good. Like I love a good being objectified when I can figure out how to make it happen.
Right.
Like even when I was webcamming, like it was all dudes and I'm not into men. So it's like, I know it's all dudes, but I'm like, like I felt pretty. Like
right.
Like
exactly.
you look great. I'm like, oh my god, I do. Holy shit. This is like if I go out to a gay bar with friends and if I get hit on, I'm like, yes, this is great. This is a good day. Billy's feeling good. I don't have to like starve myself tomorrow because Billy always feels fat. This is the running theme of the show. Yeah. Like last night I was at like a little private play party get together and I only felt sexier about myself because there was another man there who normally looks like fucking Rocky from Rocky Horror. Like that, like he's got the abs and the stuff and like he's like one of those like just Adonis type dudes. And I guess he hasn't been working out and he looked a little not like chubby, but it was rolling in and I was just like, oh yes, awesome. Like that was I took comfort in his being out of shape that I could feel good about where my body was at. It was very strange.
It's always great to have external things to help you feel better about yourself.
I mean, yeah, because what am I going to do? Have inner strength? That seems really difficult. We're not all as strong as you, okay? I go on stage and seek the approval of strangers.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I totally love that too. I love being complimented by other people. It helps sometimes.
But when you're in the typical, in like what you feel comfortable expressing, do you still get the cat calls? Or do you get guys who are confused? They're like, I have a thing about licking your booty hole, but I don't know if you are. And then it's like, you almost confuse them out of.
I don't really get that anymore. Yeah. Every once in a blue moon, this has probably happened twice since I've really started to like own my gender expression. I had one guy who he got very close to me and he was just like, "Oh, you have a pussy." And I was just like, "What the
What the guy's the way like he's the pussy whisperer, like he's got to get like a certain I'm not going to try to come close on your space, but he's got to come a certain inches away. He's like I can't smell it. I think I can. Or that could be Krispy Kreme. I'm not sure, but I can't see.
Right.
He's like, it's just odd that he's like, he's got it before he can catcall you. He's got to confirm that you have a vagina.
Right.
Otherwise, he's like, oh no, I had a great one. Oh, but no, that you've got a penis. I can see the Adam's apple now that we're close enough. You got off light this time, kid. It's gonna be odd that it's almost like your blade walking through the world sometimes.
I mean, it's just nice to not be
harassed.
That must be nice. Yeah.
As someone who doesn't get harassed, it's quite nice. It's y'all should try it sometime. I mean,
just look frumpy like me. No.
Oh, that's wild. I want to take a moment to thank my sponsor this week, the Motor Bunny. The Motor Bunny offers affordable options for couples and individuals to explore sexually creative experiences. Beyond their famous Ride-on-Top vibrator product, they develop accessories and attachments that encourage endless experimentation. That includes you kinky BDSM folk. Yep, They even have wrist and ankle restraints that are designed specifically for the Motor Bunny and its 4 stainless steel anchor eyelets. And there are now adjustable nipple clamps for more adventurous experiences. I was talking to Paige after we had used it. She said, this would be great for a forced orgasm scene. If your sub has been misbehaving and you're just going to force her to have more orgasms than are comfortable, pop her on that Motor Bunny and make her come and come and come till she can't come no more. Motor Bunny's always coming up with all sorts of innovative attachments. Their latest invention is the Jiggle Butt. Yeah, the Motor Bunny Jiggle Butt finally offers a way for men to enjoy Motor Bunny for direct penile stimulation. Made from soft TPR materials, the Jiggle Butt is easily fitted to the Motor Bunny like any attachment and offers the same vibrational and rotational intensity thousands of users have come to appreciate. Imagine you could add vibration to your fleshlight. And then imagine that vibration is going to be the strongest thing you've ever fucking experienced. Well, now you've got the Jiggle Butt from Motor Bunny. So if you've ever been curious about the ride on top experience and you've been waiting for products like the Sybian to become more affordable, you can finally try it out without having to spend a whole lot. Find out more at motorbunny.com and get $50 off a Motor Bunny starter kit by entering the code MANWHORE at checkout. The Motor Bunny costs about $450 less than the most popular competitive product. And one of my favorite things about Motor Bunny is you can finance it. I mean, hey, you can do monthly installments on a car, on an iPhone, on a laptop. Why not your sex toys? Go to motorbunny.com for more information on how you can afford this amazing toy for as little as $25 a month. And again, you get $50 off a Motor Bunny starter kit when you enter the code MANWHORE at checkout. It's an amazing deal, one hell of a Christmas, Hanukkah holiday present. So one more time, go to motorbunny.com, enter the code MANWHORE at checkout. Now back to the show.
And then we're talking about tone. What happened? We were talking about dating, relationship styles.
Right.
Yeah.
And poly and the Polly Pockets. Yeah, I was asking if you were dating. I guess we can sum that up, or
right.
we can. I don't want to pretend like we didn't just already answer it.
Right,
that would be weird. But to sum it up,
I'm dating. I'm currently looking for someone who is kind of in the gray area, like open, like me, not monogamous, not polyamorous. Yeah, and you were asking me if I'm dating anybody right now.
That's where we were. But then that's the weird thing about what that happens there, because it's like we already answered it. We had the real talk. So to do it again would like feel fake.
Yeah, it would be fake.
Like, I don't want to ask you if you're dating right now. I already know the answer. You just told me. My thing messed up and we didn't record it.
Yeah. Well, you were asking me if you think I will ever find someone who is also in that gray area. So I was about to respond.
Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, that's where we left off. And yeah, I think that I don't want to like jinx it because it's it's like so new to me that and it was kind of like on accident. Like I'm awful this way. Like I'll be the person to like set up like a really romantic date and then do all the things and just like be a nice person and like not really expect much from it. But then afterwards I'll realize like, oh, that person is into me, or they think I'm cute, or they want to continue having a romantic connection. And then my friends will have to be like, Milcah, that person thinks you're cute. And I'll be like, what? And I'll have to like backtrack.
You can't believe it.
Yeah, I'll have to backtrack and be like, oh wait, I guess you're right. Cool. So what do I do now? So the person I'm dating, I took them out on this like really romantic date where I got a hotel room for us, and it was like this top floor suite, and it had this amazing view where you could see the Hollywood sign from the window. Okay. And then we went up to this rooftop restaurant, and the sun was setting, so we could like see this like really amazing view. There was downtown LA and the hills, and we could see the sun setting. And I don't know, it was we went bar hopping afterward, and we were very similar in like how we approach dating. We're both open. We're both really fluid and growth oriented, and we both make porn, which is nice.
Right. So okay, it's not a performer.
Yeah, it's another performer. I have never dated. Have I dated another performer. No, I have not dated another porn performer. I've dated other performers, but not specifically in porn. And what
other type of perform, like a juggler? What?
like just like weird performance art, like that, like very heady, like
blood on one side
bougie,
of the face,
arty shit. Yeah,
to represent the political divide in this country.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I was also, to be honest, I was also scheduling this date as kind of like, in my mind, because I'm fucking weird, I saw it as like a business opportunity. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like approach this person.
This is how people network with romantic candlelit dinners, right? That's how we all woo financiers. Isn't that how? That's how I got my movie made.
Maybe I'm blind to my own motives.
I send roses to all the agents in Hollywood. Am I doing this wrong?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what goes on in my mind sometimes, but
I wrote Leslie Moonves a very nice poem, so he would greenlight my movie.
But to be fair, I'm romantic with everybody.
Yeah?
I'm romantic with my friends. I'm like pan-romantic. Like in the way that I'm demisexual, I only have like sexual feelings for people that I know emotionally. Like I'm romantic with anyone, even if they're my platonic friend. I'll be like, I'm so happy I met you. You're my soulmate. Like
very lovey-dovey feelings.
Very lovey-dovey.
Now, love is a topic I've been interested in recently because of my dating life. But it's like, do you find your platonic love to be different from, say, your romantic loves, which to be different from other type of love? Or is it all kind of the same animal?
It's all kind of the same animal. The only difference between like the romantic sexual love is that we have sex.
Sure. Yeah.
But like I'm poly in that I have a lot of partners. I just don't see poly as like in a sexual way. Like I have a lot of life partners that are just my friends.
Yeah, I was going to say that just sounds like a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a friend that I'm committed to for life.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, best friends. I mean, that's what the zucchini thing was about. That confused me.
Right. Well, yeah, I just call them my best friends or my ride or die life partners. But
you guys have matching tattoos, ride or die? Ride or die OPs.
but yeah, that's why like I'm a fucking weirdo and I'll do something like that and like think, oh, I'm doing this like kind of for business, but it'll be more romantic. And I didn't get the hint until, I mean, like we went back to the hotel after we bar hopped, so we fucked that night.
We fucked, but I don't know if they're into me. It's
I don't know, but I don't know what that means in the modern world.
Because in Hollywood, finger blasting, that's how you sign deals.
That's how you shake hands.
Yeah,
right?
You sign the contract with the pussy juice. It's just you squirt all over the document.
Yeah, that's how I do things, but I don't know about you.
I guess that's just how you was raised.
I was raised right. But yeah, I didn't get the hint until like I heard this person speak on a podcast and be like, yeah, I hope that we continue a romantic connection. And I was like, oh,
ooh, okay. I
was not really thinking about that. I just wanted to facilitate like a sexy good time for this person because they're amazing, and I didn't want to like expect anything or like feel entitled to anything beyond that.
Now, do they use the pronoun they, or are you just are you masking who
no,
it is?
she okay. They don't.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm just low key masking.
Well, that's the confusion with the pronoun they,
right?
Which was like a conversation I was having with my girlfriend upstairs was about like the pronoun they and them for genderqueer, or just for like people who don't want to use he, she.
Right.
And we were having that discussion of just like it's it's confusing. I was like, how many people are we talking about? Do you now say is they? If the word means singular.
Well, that's how I say it.
Do you do that?
I'm from the Bay, so that's how.
Is they? Oh, right. Cool, because you're hip and cool. I get it. This is all intentional. I feel like if I wore the outfit you're wearing, it would look like I was being lazy, but you wear it. It looks
I'm a hipster.
It looks intentional. It looks fashionable. I don't know how to do that. No, but that's definitely like a thing that confuses me. And and at the end of the day, I say like call yourself what you want to call yourself. I don't care. Just you can politely correct me in person when we meet or whatever. But they. I find confusing because if someone's like, they're coming to the party, I'd be like, oh no, I only made dinner for 3 people. Yeah, it's just Jim. I'm like, oh,
right.
I feel like I'd get all behind a new pronoun, but I feel like it doesn't the language is supposed to clarify. Like as a writer, I feel like you can appreciate that argument, that side of it is that language is supposed to be able to clearly communicate, and they, me is like it's a plural pronoun.
Right. Well, language is supposed to, but like I was talking about earlier, language is dependent on the person speaking it and their life experience.
But if we're all, for example, if we're speaking English, we're all using these rules of English that we've all implicit, like we've all kind of agreed on, so that we all can understand what we're saying. Just like if you go to Spain, there are certain things in grammar that you're going to use because that's what we've agreed on, that we're going to easily be able to communicate.
Right. I guess the problem with that is that all of these agreements are unspoken. And if we're talking about somebody, for example, I'm Filipino American, so I come from a culture, or my parents come from a culture where there isn't a he or she pronoun. It's just one pronoun. So technically, the only pronoun
everyone's they
is they. Yeah,
everyone's they. Is that same for plural versus singular?
Actually, that's a good question.
Because that's the only. I think that's the main quote unquote beef. And my beef is not like serious. Like I'm not marching about it. But it's like I think that's my only beef is that it's you're taking a plural pronoun in English and turning it into a singular, and I was like, that's confusing. But that's interesting that everyone's they. And so you have no idea. But if they could be, if they is also, if it's the same pronoun for plural and singular, then like that's very interesting, because you could be like, yo, my homies, they're on my way, you're in some trouble, and then it could just be like one guy to back you up.
Yeah.
But you say they real intensely, like they're on their way, trying to scare them, and then
right.
You know, then your backup's just one guy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I use they because Z to me sounds lame. I don't know. I just don't like how that sounds.
I agree.
So I'd rather use they, and also I guess because in Tagalog, he or she is just
in
sha. Is sha.
No, you said in the what?
In Tagalog, that's the language for Filipinos.
Okay.
Back in the mainland.
All right.
But yeah, it's so if I said maganda sha, which means he or she is beautiful, you wouldn't know if it was he or she unless you knew directly who I was speaking of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so I guess in that way, like with my, framework, it doesn't feel that complicated to me. Like if somebody says they, I'm not going to assume how many people unless I ask,
Mm-hmm. I just feel like in English, it's just I would love to see like a new pronoun. I know they try with G and there's like other ones.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, those don't sound right, but I'll use whatever y'all tell me to use. But part of me thinks like, they is taken. Like that one, that's claimed. It's spoken for.
I think people are incorporating it like legit, like newspapers or something. Maybe.
Well, they're doing it because that's what they seem to. They're being told to use, but
right.
I still don't think it is clear language. I don't think it's.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like my argument earlier, I don't think there is such a thing as clear language, because if you're dealing with people, it's just going to be messy regardless of how much you try to reach clarity.
That's fair. That's one of the things that like someone on Twitter would probably yell at me about, rather than have just
in all caps.
Yeah, right, and then block me, but then take screenshots before they do it, as opposed to just like I don't know, talking. And at the end, and that's another thing, is like you don't have to change someone's mind on, it's like whether it's feminism or sex positivity or like queer politics. I don't feel like the numbers are big enough right now to like have time to divide amongst ourselves.
Seriously.
So it's like, let's save these. Like, yeah, I'm probably a problem in certain regards, but there are bigger fish to fry.
I mean, we're all problematic. Yeah. We're all problematic, and I agree. Like,
how are you problematic?
Well, I'm sure that there are ways that I use language that offend my trans community. Mm-hmm. I make jokes that probably are more harmful than maybe that they are constructive. I also know that I moved through grief differently, just like everybody else. But like, I'm just gonna offend people, Like I just accept that as a fact of life.
Y'all were talking today at your binder con. You were talking about offensiveness, and I was screaming at my girlfriend in a happy way. I was like, "They're talking about offending people," but like, and correct me if I'm wrong at the context, but I think it was like, offending people through like graphic sexual languge or sexual female empowered language.
Or just in general.
Right.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like you were talking about offensive jokes, but the things that you and Tina and the other speaker were saying, I was like, you can apply this to like, say, comedy. It's like the same thing. Tina made a great point that being offended is similar to the feeling of jealousy. It's like that's a your emotion. Like, not to say like hey, that's a you problem, not a me problem, but that's like an emotion you got to deal with because it's
right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you as a person need to deal with your emotions. You can let another person know how that affects you, how it impacts you, and if you're a decent person, you'll be like, I acknowledge that this impacts you this way.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, it's up to you to do the emotional labor regarding how things make you feel.
Right. It's that time of the week. It's time for the impersonal Patreon thank you roll call. Yes. I like to thank everyone name by name, yet I don't know why I call this impersonal. It's so strange. I say impersonal Patreon thank you roll call. It's quite personalized. I mean, I name everybody by name. I even throw in fun little tidbits for certain people here and there. And yeah, I call it impersonal. I should probably change the name. First, I want to say, and I got to say, again, like I said in the intro, means the world to me. I am so excited, by the way, that all of the $4 and up fan whores now have received personalized RSS feeds. That way you can put that in your podcast player of choice, and it will push the bonus episodes directly to that app. No more going to the private blog page I set up. No, you can just plug in that RSS feed once and all the bonus episodes will just go there like clockwork. You won't even have to think about it. All you got to do is tap and play. So excited. Now, so many more people can listen to the bonus episodes because there are so many great ones. And before I read off the names, I want to say so sorry to Toby T. I want to give you a double shout out today. I left you out of the roll call last week, totally by accident. It wasn't personal. That was impersonal. I guess I just missed the name when I was writing them down. But right now, thank you so much to Jennifer C., longtime fan whore SB, Lance S., Madeline B., Jazzo, Jeff C., Dave K., Justin C., Ramon F., Sarah S. and Sarah B., Prickly Peach, Lawrence B., Holly F., Christina D., Greg A., Sean B., Andrew R., Megan S., Nay N., Ed B., Anna Super Slut, Gregory Y. from the Bowery Boys podcast, Sean N., Chris with a K, Scott G., Frank D., Jackie S., Herpes is not that bad, Doug R., Millie W., Michael P., Blake B., thanks for the books, Danielle G., Stuart A., Jessica K., Lindsay C., God damn those titties, lady, Danielle D.P., Ashley C., Raphael R., Derek E., Catherine B., Anthony G., don't worry, we're getting there, Ben B., Charles G., Todd B., Alex S., Chris W., Zilla T., Lauren M., Derek N., Johnny S., Owen S., TQ, Dervla, Dave P., Scott B., Dylan C., Toby T., just to make sure I didn't miss ya, CJK, Mark G, Steve Dean, Julian D, Ashley W, Rachel O, Jeff Z, and Jacob S. Thank you all so much for your support, and you too can become an official fan whore for just $1 a month on Patreon. You can receive a slew of great rewards, and you can alter your pledge at any time. To do so, go to manwhorepod.com, click the Patreon banner on the side, or you can download the Patreon app, and you can find me on there. That's Patreon, Patreon. Enjoy tomorrow's episode with Corinne Nicole, where we discuss demisexuality and a father who is a lot more oversharing than normal. But for now, let's get back to Milcah Halili, who is also on Patreon. Hey. Now, do you think the actions of people always need to change if someone's offended?
I feel like that's a complex.
Yay, you.
That's a complex.
Are on the side of nuance.
Yeah. I feel like people shouldn't be allowed to police other people's actions. Like, even if it's because of some upset.
And even if it's a cis straight white guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of your identity, I feel like, if you are hurting someone, and if you can acknowledge that you are hurting someone, I think that that's where it starts. Whether or not you can change your behavior whether you want to is another question, because maybe whatever action you do is just like part, like, not to be like this is an excuse, but maybe that's how you were brought up, that's how you were raised. Like, maybe you're not going to change overnight. Like, maybe you don't want to for whatever reason.
Or maybe the joke is just really funny. Like,
or maybe the joke is really funny. Like, yeah, and that goes back to like my whole, like, it's all about, you know, your frame of reference and where you come from. And like, I don't know, like that's where I feel like it gets complex. Like, you know, if you can and if you want to, it would be nice to be able to like mind how you behave to not negatively impact this person. But I feel like sometimes people get caught up in like you hurt me, you need to fix this, you need to change this, or you're an awful person, which isn't constructive either way.
And you're still dealing with that emotion because you've never dealt with it. You're just like projecting it onto the person who offended you.
Right.
Someone, I forget who I spoke to on the show recently, but someone made the point that it's called you take offense, not get offense. Like you take being offended.
Right.
You know,
yeah, I think that also, you know, puts more empowerment on the person who's having feelings. It makes them a more autonomous person instead of a person that just has stuff happen to them, you know?
Have you had somebody, I mean, what's your experience with that personally?
Well, having gone through my poly phase, I've made plenty of, you know, mistakes in being problematic, hurting other people. When you date more than one person, things get messy. And I've been in a lot of weird situations and felt conflicted. I feel like what I've ended up doing, or what at least I feel like I can do, like the best that I can do, is just be like, hey, I acknowledge that I hurt you. Is there a way that I can change? And if I can't, I will let you know that this is like really hard for me, and maybe I should just like remove myself from you, or you should block me, you know, whatever.
Right.
Like it is, for me, I don't take it as like, oh, I'm an awful person. I take it as like, oh, like we, for whatever reason, aren't compatible. We're not on the same path.
We're not Twitter compatible.
Right.
And you should just not follow me.
Yeah.
It's a great option that they give you.
Let's continue this. Like you deserve to live your life. I deserve to live mine.
Mm-hmm. And then the weird thing to have to juggle then is how to balance that with like people who are like on the right side of things socially, progressively, and then with the people who are still living in, say, the 40s, who will make the same argument. And then that's when I feel like that's the place where like us left leaning people go like, oh shit, did he make a point? Because I said that sentence yesterday. And it's tricky. It's all real tricky. I think if we just go back to, and it goes in with what you're talking about in the beginning of this podcast about identity politics and labels, where it's like, let's just go back to just talking about yourself and make it specific scenarios, and you know,
right.
there's no overarching rule.
Yeah, let's not create another like dichotomy or another like fucking institution that we have to abide by. Let's just let each other self-determine and live their lives the way that they want to.
And if you want me to call you Zucchini, like, God damn it, I will call you Zucchini,
right.
But don't be super mad when I want to giggle in my head about it.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like if you're going to like keep your internal dialogue to yourself, because like,
I mean, I can't promise it's going to be to myself. It might go to Twitter later, but like maybe unnamed.
Okay. Well, I feel like that's fair. Like, I mean, as long as you're not like targeting somebody specifically. And
no, I'm not going to say James. I'm not going to out
them.
James as a Zucchini.
Right.
Because that would be really embarrassing for James.
I mean, I make fun of, I like to make fun of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I like to make self-deprecating jokes. Like they're like what were you saying? Structured. They're intentional. Like I'm not going out and like witch hunting anybody. I'm just like, oh ha ha ha. Like isn't humanity funny? What a farce.
That's fun. Yeah. And I mean, and then it goes to, and I know you listened to the demisexual episode because you identify as demi, but it's like at the end of the day, like someone can call themselves demisexual or whatever. I just don't want to be told that like I gotta go march for the demis, because I'm like, I don't know. I feel like there's like 17 other marches more important right now. And if we solve all those, and then there's this group of people who are being, ostracized, then like, okay, let's focus on that then. But right now, I feel like there are bigger things to like yell at me for being wrong about.
I get what you're saying. I feel like that's also like a very like risky thing to say because it could be interpreted the wrong way. But I feel like what you're saying is like, it's like equity. There are, yes, like we all deserve equal rights. And also there's a hierarchy of, like problematic shit in the world.
Yeah. There's like numbers of people who are being who are being put down,
like Black Lives Matter.
Right, like there's way more black people dealing with shit than there are like demisexuals getting fired from their jobs.
Right.
Like I was just like,
I think it's kind of a sign of how obsessive compulsive people can be
about the labels?
about their labels or regarding their own issues.
Yeah.
Like
their issue becomes the number one issue, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if I had a thing going on, I would want to make it I would go Cartman from South Park and I would make my issue the most important issue because it affects me. Otherwise I wouldn't give a shit.
Right. But I feel like, I don't know. I believe more than anything in intersectionality. Like if I say that I'm a feminist, that doesn't mean that like I only love women and I only stand for women's rights, because I don't think that's what feminism is about. Women's rights. I don't think that at all.
Gender equality.
Yeah, I think it's about like people, regardless of their gender, being able to express themselves in whatever feminine way they feel like expressing them, or whatever is labeled feminine, without being shit on. You know. And that applies to cisgendered straight men too.
For the 1 in a billion times in the day that we maybe have a hard time.
But no. But like also,
for that time, like I trip on the sidewalk.
I mean, it's not like you will like parade around like being like, I will cry to like I love crying. I'll like cry to Rent songs. Like this is what I do. Like that's not something that is socially acceptable for men, and it's also a feminist issue.
I'm aware. I am quite aware.
Right. And it's unfortunate that, like crying or being vulnerable is seen as like being feminine, but that's
where we live.
That's where we are right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's great what you said, that feminism has to stand up for everybody. And just in the same way, and I can't remember exactly where, but like something happened and someone was shot, or someone died for a very bad, not justified reason. I think it was a white person, and Black Lives Matter showed up. Like Black Lives Matter protesters and people, they showed up like to support that person. Meanwhile, like all those All Lives Matter people, they weren't that. They nowhere to be seen.
Right.
And because Black Lives Matter doesn't just mean Black Lives Matter, it just means all of them do matter. But right now, these ones need to get some more extra help.
All of the rights that are being denied to Black people affect everyone. Yeah. If we're not all equal, if we don't all have the same rights, then it impacts everyone, even white people.
Even white people. That one time of the day, someone gets my order wrong, and it really upset me.
No, I mean that it's just like, I mean that like, I feel like it's damaging to white people to not have access to Black culture. I feel like that it's damaging to like all of humanity. I just have learned, personally in my life, I feel like my life is more enriched when I am able to celebrate and discover diverse groups of people.
Right.
Always. If I'm ignorant, then I feel, that like I don't have access to something, which is sad because I don't feel like I belong. And I feel like that's like the worst human experience, to feel like you don't belong.
And feeling alone, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of like, I don't know, white pushback is like they feel left out, which is kind of funny because like I feel like as a whole, brown people feel in general like we're actually the ones being left out. But aside from like the fake kind of like, I feel left out. But that's like a serious problem. I feel like feeling left out, feeling lonely is...
If we could teach them that like polyamory, in that like, you can love multiple people at the same time. Many different types of lives can matter at the same time. Doesn't have to be that one life matters. Just because we say the Black ones matter more now or matter now, it doesn't mean like the white ones matter less. It's come on, all of our lives polymatter. They
all over my life.
They polymatter.
Probably. Yeah, and like, but like that's the whole thing we were talking about earlier too, about nuance and context. Like and people being so literal. Like people see Black Lives Matter. They take it literally when we're not really talking about like that.
Yeah.
Literally, we're talking about how Black people are.
Come on, it's a
not
marketing
seen.
decision. Can you just
Right? Like
deal
people
with it?
aren't seen as human. They're denied rights. Get with the fucking picture.
On a way smaller scale, like, you know, you see man whore podcasts, and I'd say, if I say what the premise is, which is that typically on the show, like I'll talk to women I've hooked up with about sex and dating. That sounds like bitches I banged with Billy Procida.
Right.
Like, and I'll be like, no, like there's new.
No, that's. I mean,
right.
You're phrasing it that way because
it's
that's
marketing. Like man whore is
concise
just
elevator pitch.
Yeah, concise elevator pitch, and man whore stands out. It's like it's marketing. I'm not the devil.
But that's not necessarily the essence of your show.
Right, yeah. But bitches I bang with Billy Procida is a great title.
Yeah,
for
actually, maybe we should change that
for a shitty frat boy show. That's a great title. Yeah, that's great. I have one other question, and I only ask this because I don't tend to get people who are genderqueer or trans on the show. Try to. It's but so I've heard this phrase, experiencing gender, and for like obvious reasons, I don't know what that means. So when I've talked to, I'll read pieces by trans people or genderqueer people talking about how they were experiencing gender in this way or that way. And I'm like, what? I don't understand that phrase. I want to. I've always been very curious.
That's funny that you mentioned that because I've probably heard that term before, but I feel like I'm only really hearing it now that you're asking me this question.
And specifically in listening to you on Tina Horn and in reading some of your stuff, it seems like you feel maybe more girly at one time or feel more like boyish at another, and like that might be what that is. Like sometimes I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess experiencing gender would be for me like, well, I believe that gender is a construct. Yeah. First off, so if I'm like I understand that constructs aren't real, but I understand that the impact that they have is very real. Mm-hmm. So I guess my experiencing gender is through performance. Like I'm experiencing gender through performance. I would argue that all of gender is really a performance since it's a construct. And well, okay, so I guess in that sense, I've experienced what it's like to be perceived and treated as a woman. Okay. So I've experienced gender as a female, although I don't identify as one.
Are you like accepting and cool with like your parts? Like, are you happy?
Oh yeah. Or I mean, I came into my sexuality through porn, through femme drag. So I don't mind my tits or my pussy being called my tits or my pussy. I would prefer that the people who speak about my body parts are people who I'm intimate with. Sure. Just
I feel like many of us would share that sentiment.
Right. But I'm also really turned on by people calling my clit a cock or like my boneless boy hole or, like just, I guess, queer terms for my body parts.
Boneless boy hole.
Bonus boy hole, yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah,
that's
isn't
a
that
good
cute?
one. That's a cute one.
So there's that, but yeah, I even though I don't feel like a woman, I feel in solidarity with women because of how I've been treated for most of my life. Okay. I really identify more with men though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How so?
I grew up around boys. I identified with my dad more than my mom. I have a really fucked up relationship with my dad. I don't talk to him anymore, but I essentially like watched him sexually harass and like assault my mom. So the funny part was though, growing up,
there's a funny part. Okay.
Yeah, the funny part was, well, it's kind of weird, but like, I guess it's not all that funny to be honest.
My dad used to sexually assault my mom, and man, it was whole. No. Let me get to the funny part.
Right. No, like the strange part was that instead of being, because people would look at me and assume, oh, you're a girl. And I thought I was a girl. But the thing about it was I didn't automatically feel in solidarity with my mother. I wasn't like, oh, mommy was raped, so that means I'm going to get raped too. I was like, oh, daddy raped my mom. does that mean I'm going to be a monster too? Am I going to rape people? Because I just like identified more with the quote unquote male boy experience. Like I always felt more like the boys. I like video games. I like sports. Like I was kind of crass and like in the fart jokes, whatever, you know.
In the fart jokes, and fart jokes really should be accessible to any gender, right?
Yeah.
But I think that goes back to the earlier point of mine is that if experiencing gender or feeling if the phrase feeling like a boy, feeling like a girl is a thing, I feel like that reinforces the gender norms, and I feel like to truly shatter those, shouldn't we take away the concept of feeling like a boy? Like, wouldn't it be great to like be a girl who's like, yeah, I'm a girl and I love video games and sports and fart jokes?
Yeah, and just not gendering experiences at all.
Exactly, basically stripping the gender from those things and be like, I'm a girl, I like these things, and they have nothing to do with my being a girl or not.
Right.
You know,
it's just what I like to do. Yeah, It's funny when
is this one fun? No, I'm sorry.
It's funny when I like, so my best friend, when she realized that I'm trans, she had this whole thing going on where she wanted to ask me all the questions because
That's gotta be tiring.
Yeah.
And I apologize.
So tiring.
For all the questions I threw at you, but.
Well, I mean, I signed up for this. So.
Sure, yeah.
But like she just wanted so badly to get it right. But like, it was just like so weird because she was like, okay, so like a boy or like a girl. And I'm like, well, you can't really gender experiences, but for the sake of, you know, like just like getting the basics down. Yes. Like let's use these terms. Let's speak about the binary as symbolism for what we're really trying to talk about, which is the human experience.
Okay. To close on a funny note, do you have a favorite fart joke of some sort?
Not really one that comes to mind.
Do you do farting? Do you like fart stuff sexually? Because you said you like gross stuff.
No, but have you seen that porno of Mona Whale's farting glitter?
I've not seen farting glitter, but I've seen cake farts.
Oh.
That there are different farting. That there are different popular farting porn videos is, you know, and we're in 2016.
Right.
Because that's the thing. I had a woman, Kelsey Obsession, on the show, and she does like niche bodily function porn, body parts and bodily functions. Like she did a whole blowjob video with hiccups. Like it was for a hiccuping fetishist. So she's like walking over, like saying like sexual things, but like hiccuping during it. And then she's like giving the blowjob, and she stops in the middle, and she's got the dick in her mouth, and she's and it's like, and there's a guy who blew his load when she went hiccup. I'm like, I don't want to yuck your yum, but dude, that's a little funny.
I guess I'm not that much of a fetishist.
It's all right, you know. Well, because like to the crazy kinky people, like I'm very vanilla, but with my comedy friends, like I'm the crazy weird sex guy, and I'm like a writer was asking me like, so what are your kinks? Because she wants to work with me on a piece, and I'm like, I'm not really like that kinky. I like hooking up with strangers on Craigslist sometimes, but like not like a kinky person. But it's odd to be like in the in between, like where amongst maybe the porn people, you could be like a pretty tame on the tamer side of things, but with the muggles, you know, you might be wild. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, or did any final closing thoughts? What was the Jerry Springer thing? What was the end of Jerry Springer episodes called? He had like the closing portion of his show after like the mom like argued with her sister about how they're banging in the same brother.
Oh God.
They would have he would have his closing moments. We're gonna pretend to be serious about this. Any closing thoughts? I
just want to know if that poopsicle joke got in there.
Oh, that's in. That's
okay.
In. Don't worry. It is 100. It's 100% in.
All right, great. Well, on that note. Let's close.
Milcah, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Milcah Halili. That's MilcahHalili, and also at my blog slutsmartsoul.com.
Which is and you're blogging about what?
Mostly about lifestyle, wellness. Yep.
Okay, cool. Check those out. I'll have links to those in the show notes. And Milcah, thank you so much. Say goodbye to people.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Later. God damn it, Milcah, you're just so reasonable. Really enjoyed my conversation with Milcah. It's always fun talking to like a sex positive person who's politically correct and forward thinking and liberal and feminist and at the same time reasonable. Hey, please go check out Milcah all over the place on the things. They are on Instagram and Twitter at Milcah Halili, MilcahHalili. I'll have a link in the show notes. And then go check out their writing and their porn on milcahhalili.com and slutsmartsoul.com. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at TheBillyPresida. Say hello to both of us. Say hi. Use the hashtag ManWhorePodcast. Let us know what you thought about this week's episode. If you want to say something privately to me, you can send your comments, your questions, and your booby pictures to manwhorepod@gmail.com. Please like the Man Whore Podcast fan page on Facebook. And if you want to join the conversation with your fellow fan whores, head on over to the Man Whore Podcast subreddit. There are individual comment threads for every episode. And I also like to post pictures, questions, links to articles I'm quoted in. And I also like to respond to your post there as well. That's r/Man Whore Podcast. Thanks again to our sponsor, the Motor Bunny. Get $50 off a Motor Bunny starter set when you enter the code MANWHORE at checkout. Thank you all for letting me live my dream. If you're around on Facebook Live or Periscope around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today on Wednesday, check out me recording with Alex Engelbert. Otherwise, you'll hear us next week. But until then, stay slutty.